It's my honor to be with you today. As you know, we had an active shooter on July the 30th at about 2:22 in the afternoon at a business in the Mulberry area. 2 people were shot, 3 people, or he actually shot at 3 people. The business owner was the only one not hit. The 2 people with the business owner were hit. One was struck in the arm, one was struck in the chest, and they were treated at Lakeland Regional Medical Center. At that moment, an intense manhunt began for Danny Thompson. As you know, you all cooperated with us and put out his description as well as that of his white pickup truck. We have literally looked for him every day since that occurred. We knew he had the ability to be exceptionally dangerous, and we needed him in custody sooner rather than later. Well, our break occurred this morning about 10:28. We had an area under surveillance that we anticipated that he may at some time return to again, and he did. And here's what happened. He parked his truck at 3420 Pinedale Drive, parallel to the roadway underneath a tree, which would have made it not impossible under that circumstance, but difficult for a helicopter to have seen. But he parked his truck on Pinedale. He got out on foot and he walked across the road and down through some backyards. They have what I would call water retention ditches, and he was making his way to his parents' house, which was in a subdivision that was contiguous to the Pinedale Road area. Of course, we had deputies immediately in the area. We began to set up a perimeter. We had aviation in the air, and one of our deputies all of a sudden saw him come out of a ditch area and run across the street. Our deputy made that announcement. Aviation was already right on top of him, and he said, "I've got him running down a dirt lane." This dirt lane was in the 5800 block of Yates Road. As the helicopter was able to hover above Danny, he gave himself up, put his hands in the air, and was immediately taken into custody. He did not resist us once we were able to get the helicopter on him and take him into custody. He did not have a gun on him at that time. We're still looking for the firearm he used when he attempted 3 counts of first-degree murder on the afternoon of July the 30th. We are towing the vehicle here to be processed by crime scene, and certainly the vehicle may contain the firearm, but until we execute a search warrant on the vehicle, we won't know the contents of the vehicle. We know that once we took him into custody, he made some rambling statements about the CIA. However, he was articulate enough to understand that he needed to ask for an attorney. We wonder how much of this is a show for our benefit or maybe to create a defense. But he's in custody. Fortunately, there was no shootout. We're surprised that there wasn't. He's very dangerous, has the ability to be very dangerous, and displayed that ability. So, you know what we know. We'll release any information once we get our search warrant completed if it's of interest to you. Okay? Any questions?
Do you have any idea where he's been this whole time?
He would not tell us where he's been. Obviously, we're as curious about that as everyone else is, because we have looked and scoured Central Florida over for him. We have followed up on tips, and he was in that vehicle, that same exact vehicle, with a tag number 2126PD, the Florida tag. But we could see that at some point in time, probably after we released to the media, how he was pulling and had pulled off the bumper sticker that said "Real Men Love Jesus." he had pulled most of that bumper sticker off of the truck. So obviously, he was hearing the television and or radio broadcast or reading the newspaper. We also know some information that we didn't release to you. At one time, he had a bright red box, if you will, toolbox in the back of the pickup truck. So that was one of the keys that we were looking for. That too, as we learned early in the investigation, he had removed that as well. So he was actively trying to hide from us. He wanted to go back to his parents' house for reasons we don't know. However, we received information from an investigative source that he would be back in that area, and that's exactly where we found him.
Have you spoken to anybody from the construction facility, and if so, what kind of relief are they feeling right now?
Our deputies have talked to them. I haven't personally received any feedback from that, but we absolutely know that they're relieved. They've hired off-duty deputies to sit at the location of the business. They've all been pretty well scared because he tried to murder 3 people. Ironically, the one he really wanted to murder was the owner, and of the 3 he shot at, the owner's the only one he missed. But we knew as long as he was not in custody, he had the ability to return to that location again. We also knew that he had the ability to be very dangerous if he was intercepted. But quite frankly, when we approached him today, we not only had helicopters and dogs and guns and long rifles and bulletproof shields, but we were prepared to do whatever we had to do to take him into custody. And he was wise enough to put his hands in the air and give up with absolutely no problems.
Was this the place where he actually lived when he was gone?
This is where his parents lived. And he parked and was on his way back to the parents. And in this area, and you will go out there, you'll see it's large acreage ranch heads. It's a real nice area. And he parked away from their house and had walked across the street and was going back through some ditch areas in order to get to their house.
So it was a rural area not far from his parents' house, basically.
That's correct.
You guys had been searching for him for, 2 weeks. Every day your guys were out looking for him?
Every day. And in fact, I had a team in another area searching for him when the tip came in today. So I had a team actually, and they were soaking wet from the area they had been trudging through looking for his vehicle when the tip came in of him in the area of his parents' house.
Did he say anything about why he did it? I mean, we know what we were told from, people at his workplace, but did he admit to doing it or say why?
No, he's made some bizarre statements that we think were calculated and intentional to make us think that he is not with it. However, he spoke of the CIA and Russia, and by the way, the deputy that happened to take him into custody and drive him here speaks Russian. And they conversed briefly in that language. So I don't know how in tune he is with Russian, but he could communicate in the Russian dialect. And certainly with his conspiracy theorist and the deputy driving him speaking Russian, it probably completes his circle in his mind.
So he doesn't really suffer of any mental illness has been diagnosed? Right?
Well, if there were a diagnosis medically, we couldn't talk about it because of HIPAA.
He originally had the argument with the boss saying, you stole my business, but it's my understanding that he was really an employee of the business, not an owner or a co-owner.
That's correct. That's correct. He was an employee of the business. And he got fired about 12 to 15 months ago. So it's not like he was fired one week and he came back the next week. He stewed about this for well over a year. In addition to that, his father is an employee of the business, a well-respected employee of the business. And his mother and father have been cooperating with us as well, because they feared not only for their son's life, they feared for their own life because they didn't know what he was capable of doing. So the parents have cooperated, obviously the business has cooperated, neighbors and friends have cooperated. He has been quite elusive, but once again, he ran, but he didn't get away. So by running, he only went to jail tired. Okay? And for your benefit, I want to compliment the deputies because we recognize the gravity of him not being in custody. And they worked very, very hard and were prepared for whatever conflict was about to happen to stand in the gap in the community, because we know that the guy certainly tried to kill 3. He's facing life in prison. He has absolutely nothing to lose at this point. But fortunately, we were able to send significant resources and overwhelm him with resources. And ultimately, he didn't have a firearm on him when we took him into custody. Now, is it in his car, or did he have a firearm and see us and pitch it as he ran through the ditches? And we're out there looking now to see if that's a possibility as well. We don't have answers to those questions.
Any
All right.
idea when his first court appearance will be?
Be tomorrow. Well, I think 1 o'clock.
When is the vehicle arriving here?
Is it here now?
Is that a white pickup truck?
It's a white pickup truck.
He came in about 20 minutes ago, right in front of me.
And do we have access to it?
Let me think. All right, and let me see. Do we know somebody who could figure that out? Chief, you think we can make that happen? See there? I know somebody. We'll allow you all to be able to take a photograph of it. Certainly, it is evidence, so we're going to have to treat it like that. So you can't get up there and paw around it, but we'll make arrangements for y'all to have a photograph of it if you'd like one. Okay?
Can you poke around and look at it ourselves? It's pretty good at that.
Well, in the event, you can on the vehicle, but there's a lot of ditches out there. If y'all feel free to go out there, and if you find it, give us a call.
You wouldn't be out there pushing one now, would you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. All right? Thank y'all very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, see you later.